Well, shots have been fired, and there's a major battle going on right now. And this one's going to determine the price of your crypto. And before you get ahead of yourself, I'm not talking about the tariffs. I'm not talking about the battle between China and the United States and their tariff. Let's see who's is bigger. I'm talking about an internal battle that's waging that's really going to dictate when money pumps, how hard it pumps. God, that was hard to say. How hard it pumps, exactly when it pumps, and all these things. And this battle is a tug-of-war of power, one that's between an elected official and an appointed official. And we're going to talk about that today. And with that, remember, every single day in crypto is an adventure. So don't forget to subscribe. And if you like what you see, hit the like button. I would greatly appreciate it. So with that, let's get going and watch this short little video clip. It's about a minute, but hang in there because this is going to set the stage for the rest of the show and the rest of the when things will pump.
Yes, to set the stage, let's look back at 2024. 2024 was a year where the economy grew 2.4%, unemployment remained in the low fours, close to mainstream estimates of maximum employment, and inflation came down and was running at the end of the year around 2.5%. That's the economy that we had, and I won't decide how to characterize that, but that's where things were. Where we are now, again to your question, is the administration is, as I mentioned in my remarks, is implementing significant policy changes, and particularly trade now is the focus. And the effects of that are likely to move us away from our goals. So unemployment is likely to go up as the economy slows in all likelihood, and inflation is likely to go up as tariffs find their way, and some part of those tariffs come to be paid by the public.
Now, this is the disturbing thing about what he just said. So typically the Fed says we're working towards a 2% target in inflation, and we're going to work towards that. And as we get to that, then we'll start to lower or look at quantitative, reducing quantitative tightening and maybe lowering the rates. But they don't work on speculative. They don't guess and say, well, it looks like it's going lower. We're going to cut the rates now, and we're going to bring down the cost of your money. No. On this time, if you notice what he said that these tariffs have the ability to raise prices for the consumers. Now, we haven't even seen that yet. And actually, all the data says the opposite. The price producer index came in under expected. Core CPI came in under expected. PPI, CPI, and what's the other one I'm missing here? Help me out here. Consumer price index, producer price index. One of the other indexes also came in much lower than expected. If you know the one I'm talking about, put it down below. My brain is just stuck right now. So look, these three indices all came in well under expected. They actually came in negative. In other words, the prices were going down. Usually they have a low like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, which means they're still going up. And if you annualize that, it's like a 1.2% increase. Okay, but now we had a decrease in pricing, and all things are pointing in the right direction. But they're saying because of things that might happen because of these tariffs, we're not going to act accordingly. Now I understand this might be the prudent way to do things, but he fired some shots at Trump and the current administration in what he said. Is he choosing sides? Is this now a contest between Jerome Powell and Donald Trump? Well, here's some other interesting things we're going to take a look at right here, which is what Trump said about Mr. Jerome Powell. Let's take a look at that. The ECB, well, they talk about the European Union cut rates for the seventh time, and yet he's given Jerome Powell a new nickname. It's Too Late Jerome Powell of the Fed, who was always too late and wrong. Yesterday issued a report which was another and typical complete mess. Oil prices are down, groceries, even eggs are down, and the USA is getting rich on tariffs. Too late. Should have lowered interest rate like the ECB long ago, but he should certainly lower them now. Powell's termination cannot come fast enough. And this is a big point. I mean, Powell's saying he can't be fired. I believe his term is up in 2026, not now. And I don't think Trump has a legal means, but there is some gray area. I'm sure he'll explore it. You remember that "you're fired" phrase. He loves that one. But that all being said, your crypto, the price of your crypto, let's look at where it is right now, because this is kind of cool, is that we've broken out of this downward descending channel, but we still have to meet this, get over this $86,000 hump right here. And it's going to take, like I've said for the last several episodes, it's going to take a major event, a compelling event, or, a major coming together in the trade issues with China. Until that happens, we're going to be bouncing around here because tariffs still dominate the narrative. Now, in May, when the Fed meets, if they decide to lower the rates or end quantitative tightening altogether, they eased it last time. They eased quantitative tightening to they're selling $5 billion of treasuries, not 25, but they're still selling $35 billion of mortgage-backed securities monthly. And that's still tightening up the monetary policy. So until either the China's talks get resolved, or we have a easing of quantitative tightening or lowering of interest rates, this is going to be bouncing along, probably ranging. Hopefully no bad data comes out, but look how it's doing against the S&P. This is the S&P from yesterday. Yesterday we had, let's see, is this the 16th? We were down. Well, Bitcoin didn't fare that bad. It really didn't fare that bad. Is there a decoupling between the S&P or the stocks, equities, and crypto, and at least Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin becoming that digital gold store of value? Because gold continues to skyrocket. We're seeing all-time highs in gold, and it's really, it has true to the nomenclature of gold. It is the gold standard. Now, are people going to dump gold and buy Bitcoin? I don't know about that, but will they maybe not buy back into stocks as much and maybe hedge their portfolio a little bit with buying Bitcoin? It's looking that way that around the globe that people are starting to realize, at least the whales are, that Bitcoin is a very strong hedge against stocks and things like that. I mean, it's holding its value very, very well. Crypto bubbles, still in a tough spot. You have all these other ones just slightly creeping up despite a down day in the markets yesterday. Today on the calendars, initial jobless claims, housing starts, building permits. These are all basically consumer sentiment. In initial jobless claims, if the jobless claims come in worse than expected, well, yeah, the Fed might have to act. You're going to see if these tariffs go on for lots of reasons. Between the AI narrative of people being replaced by, computers and machines, I don't think that's long-standing. But between that and the reduction of the government workforce because we were spending more than we were taking in, and that was the reason, the way to fix it, you might see a jobless claim start to creep up. Housing starts and building permits. Well, if there's not a lot of housing starts or building permits being pulled, not a lot of people are building houses, they're not feeling confident to buy these houses, that's going to weigh on the Fed's decision as well. So really the major one today is that initial jobless claims. And if that comes in worse than expected, expect the market to react in kind for crypto. If it comes in better than expected, that's going to reduce the Fed's likelihood of cutting the rates in May or emergency cut, which I do not think is going to happen. You still have extreme fear in the market, 29 on the fear and greed meter. You have a total market of 2.66 trillion for crypto. We were as high as 3.7 to 3.8 trillion. So we've lost about 33% of the market cap of crypto in the last several months since the inauguration. It's really just due to uncertainty. We need to get back to certainty. That would be certainly nice. XRP hanging in on this downward descending channel, trying to break out 1, 2, 3, 4 times, 5 times in a row. Trying to break out through this channel, it's going to need the same compelling event that that Bitcoin needs. And I think we're eventually going to get that. It's just not coming real soon because, there's still a pissing match between Trump and Xi from China and Trump and Jerome Powell. Trump is fighting the globalists, apparently. That's what this is. And, people have different visions of the future, and these are conflicting right now. I'm not saying one's right or the other. The globalists say, let's be one global economy and everyone's going to suffer equally or succeed equally. But that just is never the case because there's always going to be countries like China and Russia or America who want to do better than everybody else, which is, understandable. That's human nature. And then you have people that say, look, let's just take care of our own right now. I think there's a balance in there somewhere, but my opinion is worthless. So that being said, look, here's where we are. We need that compelling event for crypto to really push up and really perform. And until, we have enough data for the Fed to feel good about, cutting the rates, or we have a understanding between China and the U.S. But, look, Japan came to the table. Israel came to the table. India, Vietnam. A lot of these countries are coming to the table to negotiate and just say, look, let's just figure this out and move on. And when China does that, markets will pump when that gets determined. markets will pump. Now you have the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, and Donald Trump, at it, and with his difference of opinion. And, I don't know who's going to win that battle, but I hope it's us. I hope we win that battle. That's all I got. Hope this has been entertaining at the very least. Hit the like button if you would, subscribe, share, do all those things, and I'll see you next time.